Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR and Sirius XM Channel 141. This is the Insight segment. I'm Harold Fisher. Getting older doesn't have to mean slowing down. It means leveling up, and that includes protecting your health and wealth, retirement planning, home safety, and understanding how your family can help. We are drilling down on how to age well, live abundantly, and make these your best years yet. Really important conversation coming to you tonight. And we have a wonderful expert on the program to help us navigate some of these issues. My guest is Joan Jackson, a certified senior advisor, longtime caregiver advocate, and author of the book Abundant Aging in Place: How to Better Prepare for the Best Phase of Your Life. Joan, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
spending some
Harold.
time with us. Really glad that you decided to make a little time to talk about some of these issues. I do want to get right into this. There's no secret that the aging population is growing. People are living longer, some living better, some not so much. But how would you characterize the state of America's older population, particularly Black people?
Yes, great question. And thank you for having me, Harold.
Sure.
Right now, I am in, just to give a point of reference, I'm in what is called the baby boomer generation. And I did my informational search, being a retired reference librarian. There are over 77 million baby boomers alone. Those are folks who were born between 1946 and 1964. Then you have Gen X, those that are slightly younger. And with that age group, and because of the society we're in now, and particularly for African Americans, this can be a rocky period for many people. There are people who I would say live below the poverty line. Then you also have, and I'm going to age myself with this because some people won't know who this is. Then there are people who I call daddy warbucks. They have deep pockets. But what you had, the majority of people in this age group are in the middle financially. So in terms of government assistant programs that, thank God, are there to help them. Hopefully they'll stay there. And those that can pay out of pocket, the majority of people who are reaching retirement age, and those that are even close to being centenarians or 100 or older, they have to pay out of pocket for their resources. The majority of people, over 90%, want to age in the comfort of their home, be that in a single family home, even in assisted living facility, with children, with other people, in an apartment. It doesn't matter. Whatever they call home, they want to live there safely, with a purpose, with connections with other people. And it's not about just staying in your home, but thriving there physically, emotionally, socially, and financially, and spiritually as well.
Yeah, I was about to ask, from your perspective, how do
Mhm.
you define aging well?
That's just it. It's about independence,
Ah,
it's about safety, purpose, and connection. Those four things. Just because we're getting older doesn't mean that we have one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel, or that we have to sit back and say, well, I've worked all my life. I've worked hard. If you've had children, putting them through school, helping them grow up. Now, here I am, quote, older, and I have to sit back and just wait for illnesses to take over. And God forbid if dementia sets in, and how am I going to take care of myself? And I don't want to be eating cat food out of a can or things like that. It's not about that. We, especially African American folks, we have worked hard to get where we are. And it's about being proactive. That's the key. Living abundantly, and abundant aging in place is being proactive about where you are now, or even if you're younger, where you want to be, what quality of life you want once you retire or get older. And it doesn't have to be about being lonely, being ill. It doesn't have to mean that you're just spiritually dead. It doesn't mean that. It means that this is your goal. These are your what used to be called golden years.
Mm-hmm.
These are what we look forward to. We have the wisdom, hopefully have the finances, have cultivated social circles, whether in our neighborhood, our family, at our place of worship, volunteering, whatever. Even if you're physically incapable of getting around, there are still tools there to keep you emotionally active, even physically active.
Mm-hmm.
There's still things you can do.
I don't know what your experience has been on this particular point,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say, as a child, I can remember some of the older women in my family who most of them, I mean, if they were in their late 50s or 60s,
Mm-hmm.
they probably would have been characterized as old. And I don't mean because of their age, but I mean about how they conducted themselves,
Yes.
with the exception, there's always that one sassy aunt,
Oh, yes.
who
I had one.
yeah,
A great
her,
aunt.
the the dress was always just a little high. She didn't wear a slip, and she wore too many colors, and the hat was tilted just a little more rakishly than everybody else.
Mm.
But now, we have all kinds of sexy, sassy seniors, men and women. So
Absolutely.
what happened? What changed where they seem to be, more active, more proactive, more outspoken, so much more than they were 40 or 50 years ago?
Society has changed. Society has changed. Our access to information resources has definitely changed. And so we want better for ourselves with this knowledge, and knowledge is powerful, not
Mhm.
to throw out a cliche, but it's so true. So having that knowledge that, you know what, I don't need to be frumpy, or I don't need to, just be downtrodden because I'm older.
Mhm.
I can be just as vibrant in my 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond.
Yeah.
What is willing. For instance, right now, my husband, Les, he's 75. I told you I'm 69. We cycle. We
Mm.
average 20 to 30 miles at a time. We do that. We go to the gym. We walk. We love to hike. All of that. All of that. And many of our colleagues do the same thing. And they're my age or older, or even slightly younger. There is no excuse. I will tell people this bluntly, especially in the African American community. There is no, uh, you don't need to be obese. You don't need to have high blood pressure or diabetes unless it is a hereditary thing. But even at that, with the medical knowledge that's out there, with the access to fresh foods, whether you can afford them or not, There are access to fresh foods and things like that. Just getting up and moving, being proactive about your health, because this body is all we have. This
Can
is all
you
we have.
can you imagine when you were a 10-year-old girl or a
Hmm.
20-year-old young woman that
Hmm.
someone in your family in their 70s was out bicycling, exercising vigorously? It was unheard of.
It was. It was. And you're right. Back then, no way. It's funny. I looked at my relatives, especially my grandma, bless her soul. But grandma always looked old to me.
Hmm.
She was vibrant, and she walked to the farmers market in Northeast. But it was always a thing. I could never have imagined her cycling or jogging. I mean, that wasn't in their vocabulary. That wasn't in a lot of people's vocabulary then. But as I said, that was a different time.
Yeah.
That was a different mindset. We can't afford to sit back and let ourselves talk ourselves into feeling old. Are we chronologically older? Of course. There are certain things at 69 I know I'm not going to go out, nor do I want to go out and do.
Hmm.
But I know there are things that I can do to make life better, not just for me, but for those around me. And in one of my books, my last phrase was, if your health is going down the tubes, how are you going to be there for someone else, let alone yourself?
Yeah. Which reminds me that some of the other issues that all of us of a certain age unfortunately have to deal with, I think, is, being part of that sandwich generation
Oh,
where
yes.
you just when you are ready to be footloose and fancy free in your retirement, and then all of a sudden stuff happens.
Yes, absolutely. Stuff happens. Though the sandwich generation, that is a lot of Gen Xers
Hmm.
are sandwich generation, and they are part of family caregivers. And a lot of people think it's just Gen Xers and baby boomers who are family caregivers. You have grade school and high school children who are family caregivers to maybe a disabled parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle. It goes the whole spectrum. That's my major focus, is on information, resources, and tools for family caregivers and their loved ones. That's what my website is about. But abundant aging in place is all a part of that. As I have said, I want people to be proactive instead of reactive. I want to give people information resources that they have in their information toolbox now, that when, for instance, when my when my husband and I were living in California, and we got a phone call from a family neighbor that wanted to know, did my dad, who was a widower at the time, was my dad out? Did he have an appointment? His car hadn't been home all
Mm.
day. And no, and ended up his daughter said, Joan, don't worry, I'm going to call around to the hospitals. Found out that my dad at 80 years old was rear-ended by a school bus.
Oh,
It,
wow.
I think it was on Branch Avenue. He's probably
Hmm.
going to Giant. Anyway, it was hit so hard. Now he was in a Cadillac. It
Of
hit,
course.
of
Of course.
course. So
Yeah.
it hit him so hard that the airbag deployed, hit him in the chest so hard it broke his seat back.
Mm.
And so they took him to Southern Maryland Hospital. He was airlifted into Washington Hospital Center. That's what you call, we were in react mode.
Yes.
Getting on a plane, flying out here, getting things in order within 2 weeks, then finding out the doctor said your father can't fly
Hmm. Yeah.
because he suffered a collapsed lung and fractured ribs. What did we have to do? Rent an SUV and drive 4.5 days back to California with my dad sundowning. That's a whole
Yeah.
different topic, and you may have heard it. But I'm sharing that to say most people are in react mode when it
Yes.
comes to a family crisis. In terms of abundant aging in place, I have resources in my book.
Which reminds me, because I've got
Uh-huh.
to take a break, but before
Sure.
I do, you mentioned your website, and I know you have at least one other resource.
Yes.
What is your website? Because this will also be posted on WHUR.com. But for our listeners right now, please quickly share your website and that other resource.
Absolutely. My website is called Balanced Abundant Living. Um, BALANCED, abundantliving.com.
Okay, balancedabundantliving.com. And the other one?
And my book, you're talking about my book?
No, you said some resources. You said you had a resource.
Oh, yes. And one of the best resources for anyone, if you're aging in place, for caregivers, is
Real
something
quickly,
called
go ahead.
the eldercarelocator.org.
The
Elder
Elder
Care,
Care Locator.
not the, but eldercarelocator.org.
Wonderful, Joan. Please hang on. Also, listeners, hang on. The Daily Drum will continue on Sirius XM channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. The original Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon is next on WHUR-FM. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue our conversation about aging well. My guest is Joan Jackson, certified senior advisor, longtime caregiver advocate, and author of the book Abundant Aging in Place: How to Better Prepare for the Best Phase of Your Life. I do want to talk a little bit more about some of the more detailed points. Certainly, aging well means different things for different people,
Yes.
and one size does not necessarily fit for everyone.
Correct.
Give me your thoughts about that.
Okay, just like anything else, we're all individuals with different circumstances. For instance, there may be someone who is financially unstable. They
Mhm.
may be living in a home that needs repairs. Growing up in Southeast and Anacostia myself, I grew up in a row house. So we had steep stairs going upstairs and down to the basement. That is not conducive to most people who want to age in place. Okay, so bringing in things like a chairlift, a stair ramp, a ramp to from your front door to outside, things of that nature. Okay, there may be those who live in a very large house out in the suburbs. Things may need to be retrofitted. They may want to stay in place because, excuse me, they love their neighborhood, they love their neighbors, they're near their place of worship, just like someone who is in a row house in DC or wherever they are. And so you look at where you are, you know that things are going to have to change. One of the top things where people get hurt is from falling. From
Mhm.
falling. So there are resources out there, for instance, that will tell you um, take up your area rugs. We love rugs. We love beautiful area rugs, but they're not safe. They're not safe. There, you may have problems, say, with arthritis or whatever. There are door handles that you can get applied to make it easier for you. Staying socially active, regardless of your financial or geographical location, because isolation and loneliness is one of the top robbers of people in their older years. Isolation is deadly, very
Mhm.
deadly, especially for keeping your mind active and
Mhm.
conversing with others. Thank God for the internet. Thank God for Zoom and other tools. that people can use. And there are resources where if you're not technically inclined, where you can learn how to do it, or you can have a friend or someone at your church or somebody to come and show you how to do it. Here's another thing, and this goes back, and I don't know, Harold, if and you probably are, I know I am. My ancestors and very close ancestors, they were used to not sharing things with people.
Mm.
They're sick, dementia sets in, they've fallen in their home, or don't tell so and so, or they may have an illness. It could be high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever, but they don't share it. And they don't share it with their family members. And that was almost like a given not that long ago. And some people are still that way. I want to let people know in the community, please share what you're going through with your loved ones, with your trusted friends, with your, if you feel comfortable, with your church group. But people have to communicate with each other. For one reason, a lot of people will say, they find out that you're, stretched out in your bed and can't hardly move. This is just an example. And they come to you and say, I wish I had have known. I could have helped. I could have X, Y, or Z. I
Yeah.
could have done something. Put your pride on the back burner and reach out to people and reach out to resources that are out there for us to use to better age in place.
Yeah. Talk about the role that family needs to play. And I
Yes.
say needs to play because having been a caretaker for, my father,
Mm-hmm.
stepmother, and
Mm-hmm.
now mother,
Yes.
I know that the big blessing in my family is that when the rubber meets the road, everyone has stepped up. But
Yes.
there are so many horror stories
Yes.
of those who do not.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've heard them firsthand, seen it firsthand. There are people who have family members that could care less. They said, I've got my own issues. They may live far away. I tell people, be proactive. You may have kids, but they may not live close to you. They may not financially be able to help you, physically be able to help you. And news bulletin folks, they
Hmm.
may not want to be bothered with you. It
Mhm.
happens all the time. It happens all the time. And there are people like myself and my husband, we don't have kids together. We got married later in life. He has a grown son who lives in California and has his own family. So putting things in place at a younger age, okay? And this goes for everyone. Family, back to your question, family is important. Realize that changing the mindset that it shouldn't be looked at as a burden, but almost like an honor to even, first of all, to even have a family that's
Mhm.
still living. And those that will step into the gap to help. But those that even step into the gap, they may still be working, the sandwich generation or older. They may have kids of their own, health issues of their own, and now they're stepping in for an older relative or even a sibling or even a friend, a neighbor, stepping into that gap. And I want to tell them there are resources available to help with that, to understand, especially if you're dealing with someone that has dementia. or even if you find yourself slipping into that dementia if you're getting older. There are tools out there. There are learning resources online. There are, as I said, the eldercarelocator.org, excuse me, eldercare.acl.gov. And I have the number here too.
Go
That
ahead.
the number for Elder Care Locator,
Mhm.
1-800-677-1116.
Once
Again,
again, please.
once
Yes.
again, 1-800-677-1116. eldercare.acl.gov. Excellent one-stop shopping resource you can go for questions. The Alzheimer's.org. Excellent. Do you need to, is someone you love have Alzheimer's or whatever, and that's only, no. There are that Alzheimer's is just one form of dementia. There are
Mhm.
various types of dementia, and on their website, they have videos, they have tools. You can get into support groups. They have a 24/7 hotline that you can call. I don't know it off the top of my head, but if you look up Alzheimer's Association, you can get it online. So they're unlike many, many years ago, even before the internet, many people were in the dark.
Yes.
Many people were in the dark.
Mhm.
And right now, I want to get it out there, having been an information researcher for many, many years. Many years. I know the value of good, vetted information resources. And it's part of my DNA, if you will, to get that information out to people. And I know in the African American community, we need that more than ever. This is
Mhm.
good for everyone, but being African American and living in Prince George's County, I can see the need is there. There's the area agencies on aging. Every county, practically every county in the United States has one. That's considered a one-stop shop resource. But for the District of Columbia, where a lot of your listeners are, there's the Department of Aging and Community Living, DACL, DACL.dc.gov. That's District of Columbia residents one-stop shopping for finding resources,
Yeah.
financially and otherwise.
And I do know, having had these discussions before over
Mhm.
the many years, that every state has some kind of government agency
Yes.
that addresses issues for, aging or older Americans, and
Mhm.
most municipalities, most
Yes.
cities
Yes.
or counties across the country may have some kind of governmental agency
Absolutely.
that addresses these issues. And and so, I think that sometimes the resources are more vibrant, shall I say, than others.
Correct.
But wherever you happen to be, just not in the DMV, because
Mhm.
as they say, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, all
That's
of us
it.
will eventually get there.
Yes.
One of the things that you have said several times during this conversation is making sure that you put things in place. What do you mean
Yes.
by
First of all, putting your paperwork in order. That is so freeing. What do I mean by that? I mean, let's be real, folks. Unless we're going to get raptured, all of us are going to pass away. I
that?
mean, I'd love to be raptured. Don't get me wrong. But you have to face the facts. Don't leave your stuff messy for your loved ones. Getting
Please
your
don't.
paperwork in order,
Please
getting
don't.
at the very least, get a will, or you get a revocable living trust, or a irrevocable living trust. That is another subject matter. But putting that paperwork in order, getting a power of attorney for physical and financial needs, putting that in order. Folks, please, please, and please find someone responsible. Doesn't have to be a family member, because we all have, most have those extra special loved ones that you wouldn't even let them through the front door. But, and I say that I say that being funny, but it
Yes.
happens in so many circumstances. So putting your paperwork in order, folks, putting it in order, even if you have a folder and you put out this is where my will is or my trust is. If you own property, you need a will or trust.
Mm-hmm.
And there are resources in states and in the district where you can get free financial help. But for God's sake, get something like that in order, people. Don't leave your mess for someone else, whether you have loved ones or not. And so getting that in order, putting it in a folder someplace, and having someone as the executor of your estate. And when I say estate, people say, oh, that sounds like you have a lot of money. No, no, no. That just means you have material here that you want to be properly dispersed. I don't care how big or how small it is, but don't leave that mess for others. It
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot, people. It really, and it's not that expensive. Don't talk yourself out of it. Get your life in order, please.
And I remember having a similar conversation about this. And again, this may sound funny, but sometimes simplicity is truly the answer, where it was suggested that you have a file, for example, someone such as myself, if you live alone, that you have a file that is easy to find, but on it says, yeah, it could say, will and trust information, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can write on it, if I die,
Mm-hmm.
open this.
Mm-hmm.
And also not just have one person, because
Exactly.
you may do this, you may put all of your affairs in order, you may have had all of your affairs in order 10 years ago, but
Mm-hmm.
the person that you've designated to address those things may no longer be living or may be incapacitated, and you
Absolutely.
may not remember that you may have selected that person.
Mm-hmm.
And or so you may need two people, some people who may be more technologically savvy
Yes.
may not have the paperwork, so it may be in a file on your computer, and so you need to make sure that those people who you've designated the afterlife caretakers know the password.
Exactly. Funny you should say that, Harold, because my husband and I just went to a cemetery and talked to the people about us uh, getting cremated and
Hmm.
all of that, getting things in order. And we have one designated person as the executor. But we said, what would happen if they passed on before us?
And you
What would
forgot
happen?
that they did.
So it was it was Wednesday. And so we said, okay, here's my cousin and here's her daughter. They will be back up. Okay. And letting them know. Not only that, when you have your will or trust or whatever in order, send them a copy. Send them a
Mhm.
copy. And whenever something in your life, I would say something major shifts, like you move, for instance, or they move, then update that paperwork. I implore people to get an elder law or an estate attorney to draw up the paperwork. I
Mhm.
highly recommend that. Some people say, oh, I'll go online and do it myself. Well, um, I'm not going to put that down. I will just say it is more advantageous to go with an elder law attorney or an estate planning attorney to get it done properly in the state or district you're living in, right?
Mhm.
And then they will have that paperwork in their possession, and it's filed. And so that's a backup as well. Plus, you want things done decently and in order.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
you don't want any issues. That's one thing good about having a trust is that things will almost automatically go to who there is designated to, as opposed to going through a long legal probate issue, if you will. And if you die intestate, which means without a will, then wherever you're living, um, they're over your estate. And there's certain laws in place. For instance, here in Maryland, if you die intestate, it goes into something called the orphans court. That sounds strange. That must have been an old term. But then
Mhm.
there's certain categories of things. Okay, if you die intestate, this will then go to this person, and then from there it gets to dispersed to these people. If you're married, it goes to your spouse. But even part of that, if your parents are still living, some things go to them. So the state decides who gets what and how much.
And you don't want that to happen.
And no, 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 especially, like I said, especially if you have a real estate or anything, you have 401ks, you have a bank account,
Mhm.
however big, however small.
Yeah.
Take care of your business. You work too hard for what you have.
Mhm. Let's talk more about the living.
Yes,
I,
yes,
I do I do want to talk about a home safety
yes,
checklist. And I
yes,
think that is so, that is so important.
yes,
What these, you mentioned rugs, for example, and I
yes,
think that's excellent. But I think there are some other things that may be more nuanced that we
absolutely.
don't think about.
Absolutely. In my book, I touch upon that in a chapter. Lighting. No, not many people think about proper lighting, undersurface lighting, hallway lighting, lighting on your stairs,
Mm.
grab bars in the bathroom, especially if you have issues getting up off the commode or in your shower, in the tub, things like that. If at all possible, getting your bathroom retrofitted so that you don't have to step over a high lip of a tub. You've seen the commercials on TV about jacuzzi and all of that, not plugging jacuzzi, just making
Mhm.
an example, and just getting where you can just walk right into your shower and have even put a little seat in there, and changing out the shower head and having something installed. And you can get this on Amazon, and we put this in one of our bathrooms where you can reach out, grab the hose, and rinse yourself off without having to. And I'm 5'1", so having to reach up high to grab that. I'm built low to the ground. Having to reach up, grab that, and putting they have these mats that you can put in the bottom of your tub or shower stall that's rubberized so you don't slip,
Mhm.
things like that. If you can, as I said before, some people may need a ramp coming out the front door or the back door of their house. And
Mhm.
there are resources within the district and in states that will come in and do that for you, and some at little or no cost. So, for instance, as I had said, for the people in DC, going to the DACL, Department of Aging and Community Living. That's the district's one-stop shopping for getting access to those resources to help people out, regardless of a lot or a little income. That's what it's there for. That's what it's there. And so getting a stair lift in your stairwell,
Yeah.
going up and down stairs.
But also understanding, even unless you can find resources that will pay for
Yes.
all of it or a portion of it, those are extremely expensive.
Of course, of course. Funny you should ask that, because I pulled up a financial aid checklist that I have here that I looked up. Once again, for navigation and health, going to something called benefitscheckup.org. That's a great resource. Benefitscheckup.org. Again, the elder care locator. Elder care locator. There's Medicare help with SHIP, shiphelp.org. For daily living benefits, of course, there's God willing, it's still around, SNAP for food assistance. There's a seniors farmers market nutrition program, Medicare savings program. There are for direct financial assistance. There's for low income energy assistance. There's something called energyhelp.us for that. States have supplemental payment websites, things of that nature. And so within the district, as I had said before, if you go to the Department of Aging and Community Living, they actually have a program. Let me just look at this. It's called the Safe at Home program. The Safe at Home program is created and expanded to help seniors age safely at home. It provides over 6,000 seniors already with necessary in-home adaptations. As I said before, the majority of us want to age in place.
Yes.
Wherever we are, wherever we are, we want to age in the comfort of our familiar surroundings around our people that we love and care for, and neighbors, family, friends, church folk, whatever. And we're used to certain things. And as we get older, that becomes more important to us, or it should.
Yeah, it should. I am out of time, but I want to thank you so very much for
My
having
pleasure.
this enlightening conversation, sharing the resources, and
Yes.
certainly this conversation will be posted on our website on WHUR.com by 7 o'clock tonight, along with some of those resources that you mentioned, including your website, eldercare.acc.gov, and some of the other things that you've been able to share with us. So, Joan Jackson, thank you so very, very much.
My
and you
pleasure,
continue
Harold.
to age well and be happy and healthy.
Yes. Thank you.
That is the Daily Drum for this Friday, August 15th. For News Director Renee Nash, I'm Harold Fisher. Good night.